acceptance letter was still warm from the printer when I pulled into my driveway, and I sat in the car for a full minute just holding it against the steering wheel, reading my own name under the words lead surgeon, trauma division like it might disappear if I blinked. 8 years. 8 years of overnight shifts, of falling asleep in the on-call room with my shoes still on, of choosing the hospital over Thanksgiving and birthdays, and the kind of life people my age were supposed to be building. And now it was mine. I'd texted my husband the news from the hospital parking lot 2 hours earlier. Got the lead position. They picked me. His reply had come 20 minutes later. One word. Cool. I told myself he was busy. I told myself a lot of things back then. Our house in the Cleveland suburbs wasn't big, but it was ours. And I'd loved it the way you love something you bled for. My parents had helped with the down payment, a check my mother had pressed into my hand at the closing with her eyes wet, saying, "This is yours, baby. You earned this." I painted every room myself. I planted the hydrangeas along the front walk on my knees in the August heat. When I walked in that evening with my acceptance letter and a bottle of Prosecco I'd grabbed on a whim, I expected, I don't know, something. Music. The smell of dinner. Him standing in the kitchen with that grin he used to have. Instead, I heard the television, that flat roar of a basketball game, and found my husband sprawled on the couch with a beer balanced on his chest and his phone in his hand. He didn't look up. "Hey," I said, "I'm home." "Hey!" His thumb kept scrolling. I stood there in the doorway with the Prosecco sweating in my grip. "Did you see my text?" "Yeah, congrats." His eyes flicked to me for half a second, then back to the screen. "More money, right? More money, right?" As if the last 8 years had been a coin I'd finally cashed in. I set the bottle down on the counter, harder than I meant to, and the sound made him glance over. "What's your problem?" "Nothing." I forced a smile. "Long day. I thought maybe we could celebrate." He muted the TV, which I took as a good sign, and sat up. "Actually, we need to talk about something." And God help me, for one stupid second, my heart lifted. I thought he had a surprise, a reservation somewhere nice. I thought he'd been quiet because he was planning something. That was the kind of woman I still was that night. The kind who gave the benefit of the doubt right up until the knife went in. "My mother called today," he said. I kept my face neutral. My mother-in-law and I had what you'd politely call a complicated relationship. She'd never quite forgiven me for being the daughter of immigrants who put themselves through college, for talking like I'd swallowed a textbook, for earning more than her son before we'd even hit 30. To her, I was the cold career woman who'd bewitched her boy away from the life he was supposed to have, the one with a wife who knew her place. "How is she?" I asked. "Not good." He scrubbed a hand through his hair, the gesture he always made before he asked for something. "She got let go. The company downsized, no severance, nothing. And the apartment she's in, the rent's going up, and she can't swing it on what unemployment pays." A genuine wave of sympathy moved through me. Losing your job at 58 is a brutal thing. "I'm so sorry, that's awful. What's she going to do?" "And it's not just her," he went on, like I hadn't spoken. "His brother lost his lease too. Landlord's converting the building to condos. He's got nowhere. His younger brother, 26, allergic to SETI work, the kind of man who'd borrowed our lawnmower in March and returned it broken in October without a word of apology." A cold thread started winding through my stomach. That's a hard spot for both of them, but they'll figure something out, right? He looked at me then, and there was something already decided in his face. They have us. We're family. The thread pulled tight into a knot. "What are you saying?" "They're moving in. Mom and my brother. Here." He said it the way you'd announce rain. A fact. Not a question. The room tipped. I gripped the back of the kitchen chair. "Moving in. Your mother and your brother. Into our house. Permanently." "Don't say it like that." His jaw tightened. "They have nowhere to go. We've got the spare rooms. One of those rooms is my home office. The other is storage. We talked about that room. We said someday, I stopped. We'd said nursery, back when I still believed we wanted the same things. We didn't say live in family. Your office can move to the dining nook. It's fine. Mom can take the basement once we fix it up. He'd planned it, the whole architecture of it without me. He'd dismantled my home in his head and handed me the blueprint like a gift. Fix it up with what money? The shock was burning off now, and something hotter was rising in its place. Have you seen our savings, the mortgage? My student loans aren't exactly paid off. Well, now you're lead surgeon. And the way he said it, my title curdled into an accusation. Big raise, you said? Your money can cover it. The renovations, the groceries, the bills, it'll be fine. Your money. Not ours. Mine apparently was now the family relief fund. And what's the plan exactly? I kept my voice level. Dangerous. Your mother and brother move in, and then what? I come home from a 14-hour shift and cook for 4? Do their laundry? I'm the live-in help while they do what, lounge? Don't be dramatic. It's called helping family. Mom's had a hard life. My brother just needs a leg up. You can help him find something. You've got connections. I laughed. It came out sharp and ugly. I've spent 8 years killing myself to get here. This isn't a lottery ticket for your family. It's my career. It means more hours, more pressure, not less. I am not coming home to wait on 2 grown adults. His face changed. The easy, distracted mask dropped, and underneath was something hard I'd seen flickers of before but never aimed straight at me. They're my mother and my brother. This is my house too. I've decided. They come next weekend. You've decided? I stepped closer. Since when do you get to decide that for both of us? This is my home. My name's on that deed right next to yours. And mine's right next to yours. He stood and he used his height, looming. I pay into this place too. My family needs help and we're going to help them. You're my wife. You'll deal with it. You'll be gracious. You'll serve the welcome dinner. End of discussion. You'll serve. The words hung there and they weren't a slip. They were a window. In that one sentence, I saw exactly what I was to him. Not a partner, a resource. My success was a fund to be drained for his priorities. My home was a building to house his people. My labor, my time, my whole life, just an extension of duties that now expanded to cover his mother and his brother. The fight drained out of me all at once, replaced by something cold and clear. I looked at the man I'd married, the man I'd nursed through 2 job losses and 100 late-night anxieties, and I didn't recognize him. I'm not sure I ever had. End of discussion, I repeated quietly. Right? He picked the remote back up. I'm driving out to get them Saturday. Have the rooms cleared by the time we're back. And try to have a better attitude, would you? This is happening. The game came back on. I went upstairs on legs I couldn't feel, and in the dark of our bedroom, the reality landed like a dropped tray. The promotion, the 8 years, all of it. Ash. Here, in this house, I was just a vessel. And then a thought hit me, ice cold and certain. I grabbed my laptop and logged into our joint savings, the account we built together for years. For a baby, for emergencies, for a future I'd believed in. The balance loaded. It was $3,800 short, a transfer, 3 days old, to his mother. The memo line, deposit first month. He hadn't just decided, he'd already paid. He'd taken our money and handed it to her without a word, without a single moment of asking me, and the cold in my chest crystallized into something I almost didn't recognize. Rage, pure and silent. I went back downstairs. You took $3,800 from our savings and gave it to your mother. He didn't pause the game. She needed it. For a deposit, she's breaking her lease. She's moving in here. What deposit? I don't know, old debts, something. She needed it. I helped. That's what family does. With our money, he finally paused, swiveling to face me, and his expression was contempt, plain and unbothered. It's just money. You're about to make a ton more. Why are you being such a selfish bitch about this? He'd never called me that. 7 years, every fight we'd ever had, and he'd never crossed that line. Now he did it without blinking, defending his right to loot our life for his family. And I saw all of it then. Every eye roll when I worked late, every joke about my lady doctor stress. Every time a loan to his brother for a car that never got repaid had quietly trumped our own savings. I'd explained it all away for years. He's close to his family. It's just how he is. It wasn't. He meant to use me. Get out, I said. He laughed. My house. My name's on the deed too. You want out, the door's right there. But Mom and my brother are coming next week. Accept it or pack your stuff and go. Your call. He unpaused the game. I didn't pack. I didn't cry. I sat on the edge of the bed in the dark and I thought about the down payment my parents made, about the walls I'd painted, the flowers I'd planted on my knees, about 8 years of my life, and about his mother and his brothers spreading through my home like a stain, and him, my husband, standing guard for them. Around 2 in the morning, the game finally stopped. I heard him climb the stairs. He didn't come into our room. He went into the guest room and shut the door, and that was the last confirmation I needed. He wasn't even pretending this was an argument we'd survive. He'd drawn battle lines. I didn't sleep. I watched the clock flip minute by minute, and somewhere in those gray hours, the shock hardened into a cold, focused resolve. He thought he had me cornered. He thought the fear of losing my home, of being alone, would make me swallow it. By dawn, I knew 2 things with absolute clarity. I didn't love him anymore, and I was not afraid. I got up. I showered, put on a sharp blazer, made coffee. On the counter, next to an empty beer bottle, he'd left a note scrawled on the back of a receipt. Gone to get Mom and my brother. Back Sunday. Have the rooms ready. Don't make this harder than it has to be. I read it twice. Then I walked to my office, sat at my desk, and opened my contacts. I scrolled past his name, past my parents, until I found her. My old roommate from undergrad, the one who'd gone to law school while I went to med school, the smartest and most ruthless person I knew. She'd taken one look at my husband at our wedding, and later, 2 glasses of wine in, leaned close and whispered, "He'd better treat you like gold or I'll take him apart." I dropped his note in the trash and dialed. She picked up on the second ring. "It's me," I said, and my voice came out steadier than I'd felt in years. "I need your help. I need to know my rights, and then I need to make some moves." She didn't ask a single softening question. She just said, "Tell me everything. Then don't do anything until we talk." What I did over the next 48 hours, I did carefully, the way I'd been trained to work a trauma case. No panic, just sequence. I opened a new checking account at a different bank and rerouted my direct deposit before his weekend was over. I documented the savings transfer with screenshots, dates, the memo line. I changed every password I owned. I called a moving company and a short-term rental, and I took only what was mine. The things with no price tag but that I couldn't bear to leave to his mother's rummaging, my grandmother's letters, the watch my father gave me. I rented a small furnished apartment across town and put the lease in my name alone. And on her advice, I installed a small camera by the front door of the new place. $99. Cheapest insurance you'll ever buy, she told me. He came back Sunday night to an empty house, 2/3 of a savings account, and a wife who'd vanished. I know exactly when he figured it out, because that's when the calls started. I let them go to voicemail. All of them. Monday evening, I was at the dining table of my new place, going over a spreadsheet she'd sent me titled Marital Asset Inventory, when I heard a key turn in my lock. My heart slammed. I hadn't given him a key. I found out later he'd talked the building super into letting him up, flashed his old marriage certificate, played the worried husband. The door swung open, and there he stood, rumpled and furious. And behind him, a floral suitcase and a duffel bag. He'd brought them. His mother and his brother, standing in the hallway of my apartment like a delegation come to collect the runaway wife. "You changed the locks," he said. I moved. I closed my laptop slowly. "This is my apartment. My name's on the lease. Not yours." His mother pushed past him, her eyes sweeping the studio with open disdain. "You're living in a shoebox. This is your big solution? Running off to a closet?" His brother slouched in behind her, scrolling his phone, and muttered something about there being no balcony. The violation of it stole my breath for a second. He hadn't just found me. He'd brought an audience. "He wants you emotional." she told me, in one of our long phone sessions. He wants you to react. Don't engage. State your position. Enforce it. I didn't reach for my phone. I just looked at him. You're not welcome here. This is my home. You're trespassing. I turned to the other two. Neither of you is welcome. Please leave or I'll call the police and have you removed. His brother smirked. Trespassing. Somebody's been watching legal shows. His mother ignored me entirely and walked to my refrigerator, opening it like she owned it. There's nothing in here. What are you eating? You'll get sick. That tone of fake maternal concern, sweeter than a $3 bill. Get out of my fridge, I said, and the ice in my voice cracked just slightly. Talk to your wife, she snapped at her son. This is absurd. We're family. We're worried about you. A little disagreement, I said. Is your husband emptying our savings and you two showing up uninvited to move into my home? I stood and walked to the small table by the door, picked up a business card and held it out to him. My lawyer. Everything goes through her from now on. The marriage, the house, all of it. Don't call me. Don't come here. He stared at the card like it was a snake. You got a lawyer? You're seriously doing this? You gave me a choice. Accept it or get out. I chose option B. I let the card fall to the floor at his feet. Now leave. The next call I make isn't to her, it's to 911. And I have video. I nodded toward the camera by the door, the little red light glowing. His eyes found it and the color drained out of his face, then flooded back in an ugly flush. The bluff was called. He couldn't force me. Not here, not with that light blinking. You're a piece of work, he hissed. After everything I've done for you, name one thing, I said quietly. In the last year? Not for us. For me. Name one. His mouth opened. Closed. Nothing came out. And that silence was more devastating than any insult he could have thrown, because it confirmed everything I'd spent a sleepless night understanding. Mom. Let's go, he finally grunted. His mother looked like she'd swallowed a lemon. Kyle, she caught herself. I won't repeat his real name, but it doesn't matter now. You're not letting her. Now, he roared, turning on her, and she recoiled, and the pressure that had nowhere else to go went there. They gathered their bags. At the door, he looked back at me, and for a second the anger frayed and something raw showed through. When you come crawling back, it won't be this easy, remember that. The door shut. The lock clicked. It was the most beautiful sound I'd heard in years. The weeks that followed were a kind of war fought in offices and courtrooms, and I learned to fight them cold. My lawyer was a marvel. She walked me through it like a surgeon walks through a procedure. The $3,800 he'd transferred was marital property dissipated for a non-marital purpose, recoverable with interest. The house, where I'd contributed the larger share of the down payment and carried most of the mortgage for 2 years while his commission job sputtered, where I'd paid the property taxes outright the last 18 months. You've been subsidizing his life for a long time, she told me, and hearing it laid out as columns of numbers was its own kind of grief. She filed for the dissolution. She got me a temporary restraining order, built on his trespassing and that parting threat. It gives the police a reason to act, she said, and in court it paints the picture. You, the reasonable one seeking peace. Him, the aggressor. He didn't make it hard for her. 2 weeks in, he texted a true stinner, and against her advice and my own better judgment, I went, because some masochistic part of me needed to hear the pitch from his own mouth. I stayed in the doorway. I wouldn't go further in, and there, over takeout he'd ordered to play house, he laid out his real plan. I'd move back, give my whole paycheck to his mother to manage for the family, and we pay the house off fast. And then, almost casually, he suggested I sign my interest in the house over to him. Quit claim it, just on paper, to simplify things. His mother's idea, I'm sure of it, a woman who balanced her checkbook to the penny, betting I was too love-struck or too stupid to see her son trying to steal the house out from under me while my own income paid it down. What he didn't know was that my phone was recording the whole thing. My lawyer had told me to. Ohio's a one-party consent state. Let me get this straight, I said. I move back, hand my income to your mother, pay off the mortgage with my money, and sign the house over to you, for simplicity. You're making it sound clinical, he said. It's about trust. I stood up. We've been done a long time. I just didn't know it. He followed me to the door, his calm shattering. You walk out, the divorce gets ugly. I'll drag it out for years. I'll take you for everything, do your worst, I told him. And I'll do mine. His worst, it turned out, wasn't much. The recording was, as my lawyer put it, the kill shot. When the judge heard his own voice proposing a quitclaim deed while planning to siphon my salary, she removed her glasses, looked at him for a long moment, and asked his lawyer whether his client often made such generous offers to simplify a marriage. He lost the request to keep me out of the house. He was ordered to carry the full mortgage himself, which he couldn't, because 3 weeks later, the dealership where he'd been coasting let him go. He lost his job, then the house to a forced sale, then the version of his future built entirely on my back. I won't pretend I felt nothing. Watching it collapse, I mostly felt a strange, distant quiet, like watching weather move across a far-off ridge. By then, I was already in a new city, already building a trauma unit from the ground up, already learning what it felt like to come home to a place that was only mine, and to silence that I'd chosen. He called me once, months later, from a number I didn't recognize. Hollow, broken, all the bluster gone. The house was gone, the job was gone. His mother and his brother were fighting day and night about whose fault it all was. He said he'd made a mistake. He said he didn't know what he'd had with me. He said he was sorry for the money, for the night he'd shoved me into the corner of the console table, hard enough to leave a bruise the shape of his temper across my ribs. A bruise I'd photographed at his mother's insistence, that I'd thrown myself, a bruise that had, in the end, helped end it. He said he was lost without me. He waited for me to tell him it was all right, to throw him a line. I thought about my grandmother's letters in their box, about the corner of that table, about the words you'll serve them, about his mother's hands in my refrigerator. I don't care, I said. I heard him inhale sharply. What? I don't care. I said it the way he'd once said it to me, the night I came home lit up with the best news of my life. Each word measured, final. Your mistake, your loss, your nightmare. I don't care. Don't call this number again, or the next call I make is to my lawyer. I ended it. I blocked the number. And I sat for a moment in the quiet of my office, rain on the glass, a city outside that he would never see, in a life he could never have imagined. Then I turned back to my work, to the unit I'd built and the people in it who counted on me, and I let the past be what it was, a closed file, a settled account. Just noise, finally, that I had learned how to tune out.